I'm
Oh,
in Los Angeles, California right now, and I have been practicing holistic health for 40 years. This is my 40th year. And I started as a fitness trainer and I became a registered dietitian where they taught you that potato chips are in the food pyramid. And I got my master's in public health, and then I decided to keep studying and I learned a little bit about vitamins and found myself in functional medicine about 15 years before it became popular. And then that led to me learning more about energy medicine and became a master in QRA. QRA stands for quantum reflex analysis, and it's probably something we've all heard or seen without the title. It's where someone says it's tight over here, but it's really coming from over here. But where it's really coming from is a scar or a trauma or a dental infection, or some injury at some point earlier in life. And so, using QRA, which is an energy test, you may have seen like where they do the arm like this. We use an O-ring, which was developed by Dr. Omara. It's where your fingers are in a perfect circle, and the patient makes the circle and they touch their body in different places, and the practitioner is just touching their hand. And when the patient touches their body, there's either energy or there isn't, determined by whether the O-ring stays together or comes apart. So this is what I use most of my day, the O-ring, to instantly diagnose and create a treatment program for each individual, in addition to the nutrition and all the other stuff that most of us are aware of and talking about. But the O-ring has become quite powerful. It's been in 55 medical journals, although most medical people never heard of it and will still snub it, and say that it doesn't work. But my entire practice for the past 26 years has revolved around the O-ring. And then later on, we add in functional medicine diagnostic tests to get a little deeper. But I can instantly figure out in a non-invasive way what is going on in someone's body in about 10 minutes using the O-ring. And then I use some of the techniques I have in the clinic to turn their whole body on. And then we can, for example, give stress or tap on a scar, and then we see what other parts in the body go weak. And so that's the reflex. So if we tap on a root canal or an implant, and suddenly their entire GI tract goes weak, their nervous system, or a few spots on their head, then we've uncovered that their headaches and their digestive issues are actually coming from that root canal or implant. And so I can bring nutrients into their field. Many people know about different forms of energy testing or muscle testing, as it's often called. And so when you put the nutrients or something else into someone's field, they either test strong or they test weak. And so when I use nutrients, I want to make sure that the person has enough nutrients or the right nutrients in their field so that when we tap on the root canal or implant, the head stays strong, the GI tract stays strong, the nervous system stays strong. And that's how I start to develop a program where people start to feel better. They start taking the supplements, and then they feel better, their GI tract is getting better, and then we go further along into now how are we going to treat the root canal and what are we going to do to it to make it stop creating problems elsewhere in the body. So that's just an introduction to QRA, and I will be teaching from January till June. I'll be teaching a mentorship program where I'll be teaching people how to do a lot of what I do. So I just wanted to give you all an introduction to that in case you've never heard of it before. QRA is backed in science and it's been around. I've been practicing for 26 years now. And the person who originally created it has moved on, and it seems like all of his people that he's trained have surpassed his teachings, which I think is the goal for, that's my goal when I teach the mentorship program, is that my students know more than me and they become better than me. And we just teach our craft. And I think that's part of why we're all here helping each other. Um, and sharing our wisdom. So I'm often finding myself working with women in the menopausal, perimenopausal age category, and I am currently in that category as well. I've never had a hot flash. I never really knew I was going through menopause in terms of feelings in my body. I just live and my age just went and I'm just there now. And so what I teach people is that going back to what I was just explaining about QRA is what I teach people is that hormones are at the end. If these are all dominoes, hormones are at the end. You have poor hormone balance after you start with an injury, which leads to a nutrient deficiency or a toxicity. Then you have inflammation. That's when the sleep starts going wonky, the energy goes poor, the headaches, whatever all the symptoms are. And then you end up with hormone imbalance or whatever dis-ease you're currently told when they try to put you in their box and tell you what you have. But the condition that you have is that your body is totally out of balance. And it's coming usually from either things like Dr. Valerie was alluding to, is people are so far, well, she was talking about the earth, but I am saying people are so far removed from the earth, touching the ground, having sunlight, having good sleep, being in nature, and they're just in a building all day on concrete or rebar, and they're not connected to themselves or the planet. Between that and all of your injuries over the course of your lifetime, that's how you end up with this last domino, whatever you want to put in that, where it says poor hormone balance. It could be cancer, it could be diabetes, it could be whatever the condition is that the medical system has labeled a person. But what it really is a culmination of all of these other things that they've had over the course of their lifetime. And so here's an example where I can take 10 people or so that I see in my clinic or just in life, and they all have the same problem. Their problem in this example could be hormone imbalance, right? They're like, I have hot flashes, I don't feel good, I don't have no sex drive, whatever it is that they're saying. And I can find 10 completely different causes for the problem. And, our medical systems tend to treat the condition, not the person. And what I think what I know I'm talking about, and I think a lot of us are, is treat the individual as an individual. And the way I explained QRA is how I treat the individual. I don't just say, oh, you're coming to my office, I'm working on hormone balance, you're sitting on the other side of the desk, and I'm telling you what the textbook says you need to do. I'm actually treating the individual, figuring out exactly what's going on in your body, treating that. And then your body's like an onion. So we peel away the layers and we get rid of what's on the top, which might be like letter person a nutrient deficiency. We replace the nutrients and then they feel great for a period of time. And then suddenly they don't feel great because their body has peeled layers of their onion and now their heavy metal toxicity shows up. And then we trace it eventually back to the C-section or their tramp stamp or tattoo, especially tattoos that are on the spine or the back of the neck. They always cause problems in people's health elsewhere. If you had a tattoo on your forearm, might not cause problems or reflex elsewhere in the body because it's not really on an organ or a gland. But the ones that are right on their ovaries, right on the spine or the nervous system, those tattoos are always reflexing to elsewhere in the body. So this slide is really just all about that, we can have one health condition, and when we line up people, we can find different reasons for their problem. And it's really all about treating the individual. And so this is my 40th year in practice in health and wellness and fitness. And in all of my different skills and trainings and experience with people, I have shrunk it into 3 steps to health that everyone needs to focus on. And there's many branches within these 3 steps, but the 3 steps is where I start with people. The first one is to strengthen your biofield. In the yoga world, you may know the term aura. It's your personal space around you. When your biofield is intact, healing is limitless. And Fritz Albert Popp came up with this term in the 70s, and it's a plasma energy field. So you can't see it, but it is the space around you. And I'm going to go deeper into that in a second. I'm just going to mention step two is the assembly line, your detox system. Step three is your scars, traumas, tattoos, piercings, etc., that I was talking about. So the biofield, again, is this plasma energy field around you, and or your personal space, your aura, whatever word you want to use, but the scientific word is the biofield. The things that destroy the biofield are all of our favorite things, and maybe some that are not so favorite as they're starting to do all the digital stuff in the world that I don't want. But so if you go through a toll booth, if you're on your computer, if you use your phone, all of those instantly destroy your biofield, which is why we need to spend time on Earth and in Mother Nature, because that restores our biofield. We are a battery. Everything we come in contact with either charges us or drains and depletes us. And so, of course, going into nature, all the things, being in the earth, soaking in the ocean, all of that is important. But because we're in a modern world and we can't do that at all day, at all hours of the day, we also have devices. We have remediation tools. So this is a sticker. I believe I've shown it on this talk in the past. Over the years, they have made it more and more flat. There's even a newer model before mine that you can't see it on your phone, but you don't see it elevated. Like it goes on your phone, you put your case on top, you don't even know it's there. But this particular device is called a Q disc. This is the one that we use here in my clinic and on our online store, etc. And when I use the O-ring and I test somebody with their phone, not one spot on their body tests weak. But when I put the sticker on it or next to it, and I put it right next to them, even if they had a weak spot on their head or their thyroid or the thymus, those parts of their body test strong. So, in effect, the Q disc turns your weakest link into strong. So, basically, it turns your phone from killing you into healing you. And for the two simple examples that I use for people are think of it as an isomer in science, right? So the phone is this way, but when you put the sticker on it, it just looks like a mirror image, but instead, so it's still the same, but instead of harming you, it's healing you. The other way we talk about it is when you put the sticker on your device, it takes like this chaotic energy that's around you that you can see in this slide that, if you're sitting here in Los Angeles, and I'm sure where most of you are, and there's cell phone towers, and now they have these Gwen towers, and there's Wi-Fi everywhere, and of course we know that's what's causing all the world tragedies and the flooding, etc., because Mother Nature doesn't like that. But if the energy around you is like this chaotic energy, when you remediate it, it comes back into soothing harmony. So when you put this sticker on your device, it turns chaos into like a nice pleasant symphony. And so this is the non-negotiable with anyone that I work with. They have to put this sticker on their phone before they leave, or else as soon as they leave and they're feeling so good, because I've done all these biohacking and photo biomodulation and frequency tools to them, and they leave feeling amazing, and then they have their health program they'll take as they go through life before they come back for their next session. But as they're doing that, the longer that they have their phone, their computer, their electric car, their biofield starts to break and break and break. And, in some people, it breaks in the snap of your finger. So, really, it's just an essential at this time in life. And I wish I had a way to tell you, folks that are all around the world, which sticker to choose. I wouldn't know unless I tested it energetically, because if I took an EMF reader to my phone, it would still detect an EMF. But to the energy testing, it tests amazing. Like I have my people put their phone on top of their head and take a few deep breaths. And in doing so, this actually turns on every organ, gland, chakra, meridian, and energy channel, which is pretty cool. And here in the States, they're the companies that have the most marketing dollars, the Aries Tech, the Wave Block, and the Bodywell. I have tested them. I've tested people with that device, and it does not do the same. So this is the Q disc. My assistant is in the Philippines, and we did an energy test and found her a sticker for $3 that her health has improved since she's been using it. So the bottom line is remediate all of your devices, turn the EMF inside out so that it's healing you instead of harming you. Because we're not going to live without devices the rest of our lives now that we have them. Now they're just making them into sunglasses and whatever else they're doing. So we are in an EMF world. Maximize it and make it work for your health. And for your patients that never improve, make sure you're taking care of their EMF, because I have many people that come to me from 10 and 15 other functional medicine doctors, and they're like, what are you going to do that's different? Like crossing their arms, feeling all down, thinking that they have no hope to heal. And if no one else has put a sticker on their phone, which is usually 100% of the time, instantly, I already know I'm going to be able to help them. Because, and most of the time, all their other efforts start to exponentially work because they've remediated their devices. And we have paint, and we have on my website a Wi-Fi, like a little spaceship. There, I have a whole EMF department in my clinic because we have so many different kinds of devices, and we can remediate all of them except for the watch. There's no remediation for the watch because there's no space on it to really put anything. You could put a dab of paint, but it doesn't seem to last, but it's temporary. In any event, the bottom line is the first step to health, even with all my other science experience and nutrition education, is we have to remediate the EMF because it's everywhere. And then we can go to your actual body. And we all know that when people are in the hospital and they're not doing well, usually the it's because their kidneys or their liver are not doing a good job. And so they can't give them medicine, so they can't help them heal. So I'm going to expand it to the entire detox system, which here in the States is become this huge marketing tool where everyone's got a detox product. Most of them are not really detox products. They like do one thing to your body that might detoxify one thing out of your cell. Our entire detox system, to me, has 11 components: the liver, gallbladder, kidneys, intestines, lymph, stomach, pancreas, and spleen. So, in order for you to heal, for example, the root canal that I was referencing earlier, in order for us to do work to that, and we'll talk about that in step 3, what we'll do to heal that and to prevent it from causing more problems in the body. When we do something to this area, if there's infection or toxicity in there, it's going to leave that area and go to the liver to get detoxified, which then it goes to the gallbladder, the emulsified kidneys, lymph. We pee, poop, sweat, and exhale toxins out of our body. So to me, that's the entire detox system. And I have nicknamed it the assembly line because that is how it works. If you don't poop or sweat, the toxins back up. And so people may have an angry liver, or they may be bloated because their gallbladder is not working. But the problem could be their liver or gallbladder, or it could be that they didn't poop or that their lymph is clogged. And so it creates backup all the way to the beginning. And if you're sitting here for 24 hours in Los Angeles doing absolutely nothing, you get 80,000 hits of stress to your liver. And so the liver has to deal with what's coming in, but as we're all aware, we're all trying to heal. So we're also releasing stuff, which the liver has to deal with. And then if we're not pooping or our lymphatic system is not working, it's going to back up. So the main point of this is that we need to detoxify our entire assembly line. And I have created a tapping and swiping technique. You can watch the video on my free tools website page. If we have time to get to it, I can do that. But it's not hard to detox the entire system. I've created an actual detox program with products that work on the entire assembly line. I think most of you are probably familiar with all of the symptoms of each body part. And similar to how Dr. Valerie was talking about, an avocado is representative of this part of the body. Our detox organs all have specific symptoms that are always related. So as soon as someone's angry or irritable, I know it's their liver. And then I just have to detect, is it the liver or is it something that's clogged, and what do we need to do to keep this flow going? And the assembly line, I liken it to like an oil change in a car. If here in the States, you get an oil change every 3,000 miles, or the oil is clogged and the car will not work or run as well. And so if you're 30, 50, 70, and you haven't flushed your own personal oil, now is the best time to do that. And you can look at the Simple Solutions Detox, or many of you have some of your own detox protocols, but I really urge you to look at the entire detox system, not just the liver or the kidneys. Look at all the intricate parts. And then the third step to health, which I've already referenced, is your scars, traumas, tattoos, piercings, injuries, biopsies, and dental work. All of those out of your entire lifetime are susceptible to be the cause of today's health problems. So when someone comes to me, the first thing I get from them is a list of all of their scars, traumas, surgeries, injuries, etc. And once I evaluate their regular body, their biofield, and their detox organs, and I give them a treatment plan, like whatever supplements or tapping or any earth things that I'm giving them. We do mud therapy, castor oil, sunlight, grounding, etc., all of that. Then, as they're starting to improve, now I'm looking for which of the scars or traumas, etc., are reflexing to their chief complaints. And eventually, I work through all of the scars and traumas and dental work to make sure that none of them are reflexing and causing problems elsewhere in the body. Our number one goal is to get to the head. Everything on the head is 16 times more likely to be problematic and reflex to elsewhere in the body. The problem with getting to the head is that we have to open up all the channels in the neck. The lymph has to work. You can't have any traffic jams. If you've had shoulder surgery, we have to clear everything here to open up the channel so that we can get to the head and the dental. Because if we start detoxing the head with mud packs or whatever we might do, they're only going to dump everything from here. Energetically, everything from the belly button up leaves through the subtle body through the hands. So if there's a traffic jam there, we're just going to move the problem, and now they're going to have neck and shoulder pain. You know, their head might feel good, but their shoulder and their neck are going to hurt. So eventually their head won't feel good either. So there's that on the subtle body. And then there's also making sure the detox system has vacancy so that we can put toxins in there to get emulsified, detoxified, etc., until we pee, poop, sweat, and exhale them out. So the step three is really the ultimate goal. But in our lives, we're kind of seesawing between step two and three. Because once we heal the biofield and we teach anyone a little bit about the biofield, usually we can manage that and keep that strong. Electrolytes and minerals are what strengthen the biofield more ongoing. Um, so I just mentioned all of these, the top three in my last slide. I'll have people use castor oil topically on their detox organs before they get in the shower or the bath, because for less than $20, they can treat all of the detox system. We have to make sure that castor oil is organic and clean and free of hexane. The ones we use here are. That's just one, people like to do stuff. They don't just want to swallow pills all day. So I give all different kinds of homework. So I have them castor oil, and I might even have them tap on the organs as they're putting the castor oil in, which stirs some things up. And then the castor oil in the sauna, the shower, or the bath is putting nutrition in and gently detoxifying. So it's really gentle. They don't usually feel poorly. Most people feel better after they castor oil. Of course, being on the earth, Dr. Valerie just talked all about that. I have pictures. I'm sure most of you have seen them. If not, they're on my website for free, of your cells before you're on the earth and after you're on the earth. If your cell wall is in the shape of a hexagon or an oval or a trapezoid instead of a perfect sphere, then you're not going to be able to absorb nutrients or get rid of toxins. And so getting on the earth Right now, while I'm presenting to you, I have my feet and ankles in a bucket with ocean salts. So I am grounding and earthing while I'm on, while I'm giving a talk, because I tell people to maximize your time and heal your body. So earthing is one of the best way to get your cell walls back intact. Eating enough oil and fat is also a great way because the cell wall, as most of you know, is made up 100% of fat. Tapping and swiping, we've all heard of some EFT and tapping, but when you tap your detox organs, it's like a workout for your organs. And then you exhale and you're clearing the toxins and the stress out of your body. Body talk is a statement. You might take a picture of this, or it's available on my website for a download with other statements. We have to work on the emotional body if you truly want someone to heal. And when we say this statement, it actually clears everything subconscious out of everyone's field what right away. And because as you're doing the detoxing and the healing, emotional stuff comes up. And one of the ways that I'm so successful, I have almost 100% success rate in my clinic, is because I work on the emotional body every single time, and it is part of the homework. Um, I'm going to keep going for the moment, but if we have time, I will come back to that as well. This is mud therapy, and these are some of our little cuties we've worked on. Mud therapy is another earth therapy, and we use dehydrated powder and we mix it with an earth mineral serum, and it looks like chocolate pudding, and we put it on the body anywhere really, but first we focus on the system I use is across the board, whether it's castor oil or anything else we're using, even our biohacking tools. We have to get the biofield, then the detox organs, then we can work on the injuries and scars. So the first little guy on the left fell when he was like 5 off his bicycle, and his sunglasses like went glass went into his head. So he had an interference field on his nose, and which means that it was a scar, trauma, etc., that was reflexing to other places. That's called an interference field. So as we got him healthier, which kids heal fast if you do the right things, but you got to remediate their devices or else they're never going to heal because they're not really on the earth anymore, even though it's warm out here. They're on devices and computers and in classrooms, sitting in chairs all day, which is sad. So we put a mud pack on, and in about 5 minutes, it pulls 50% of the toxins out of that site. So the first guy, we were doing an interference field. The second guy, his kidney. Third guy, his liver. And then our little twins over there were doing their kidney. And so it pulls 50% of the toxins out in a few minutes. We throw the mud out, we wipe it off, and then we can move on. And I had mold poisoning a couple of years ago. I would do about 20 to 30 packs at a time once a week. And most of my patients cannot handle 7 to 10 packs at a time. So we slow and steady wins the race. We do a few packs, pull some toxins out, it opens up some traffic jams, and it allows the body to really start healing. Um, I'm going to skip over that because you know that already. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about inflammaging for a moment because I have a business within my business, which is global, that many of you may have access to in your countries, where it is testing markers for inflammation. You're testing your omega-6 to 3, which I think we all know by now that inflammation causes heart disease. It's one of the risk factors for cancer and so many other major ailments. And it's so easy to heal. And of course, we're calling it now inflammaging. The more inflammation you have, the faster you age. Aside from the QRA and doing all the lab tests that we do, I send people home with lab tests all the time. They never do them. I don't know why. It's too easy and they forget about it, or it's too complicated and they're worried about doing it right. The balance test is the simplest, most least expensive, most informative test we have ever done. It's a little finger prick, 2 drops of blood. It goes to the lab, which is in Norway, and they come back with their markers of their omega-6 to 3. And you're supposed to be 3 to 1, which is one of the inflammatory markers. People, especially vegans and kids, are 40 to 1. So getting this information in front of their face and they see it, and they're like, oh my God, I have so much inflammation, then they're usually more focused on their oils and their earthing and their soaking. It's like a good scare tactic. It's the least expensive test. It is a network marketing thing. If you're interested, just reach out to me. It's in, I think, 45 or 50 countries. They just came out with a super cool um, test looking at markers that indicate whether or not you have gut microbiome issues. I haven't done enough research into it to give you more information, but this is, we all know about inflammation. It's everywhere. I have so many clients that can't lose weight. We got their test back. They were 40 to 1. I'm like, get on the oil. Stop eating things that cause inflammation. Like, there's only so many things you can do with a person in the time you have with them when they come back for their 1 hour or 90-minute session every month or every 2 months or whatever it is. You can't talk about diet, create a health program, give them all their homework and answer all their questions. So, it takes time to get through to people with their emotional head or mind as well, and all the clearing work and healing that we do in that time, that this is just a quick marker. I could do it right before they walk out the door. We get their results, boom, and we have them. I'm not going to start collecting their pee and their poop, but the balance test I could do pretty quickly. Um, Obviously, when your body's not focused on decreasing inflammation, it has more energy to heal the rest of you. That's a majority of my talk. On the upper corner of this is there's a gold you could see on this slide. There's little gold paint. You could see the red circle around it. We remediate wires, we remediate devices for EMF, we remediate circuit breakers. Think about like in one house. When I said to a man I was working with, he said, "Yeah, we're like the average family. All five of us have five devices." I'm like, that's 25 devices plus Wi-Fi, plus like they have smart meters here. Like the house is like not allowing you to heal unless you remediate the home in addition to your phone. So I start with people's phones and then we get to the house. I have some ideas here of like soaking, tapping, swiping, getting on the earth. You meet your patient where they're at, and I give homework in 10 different directions, and when they return, I figure out which ones they're willing to do. Some people say, I'm never going to soak. Others say, I'm never going to go to the beach. I'm like, it's around the corner. Half the world doesn't have a beach around the corner. Please go. Like, it is there to heal you, but people do not go. Sad. So I have them soak in the bathtub or in a bucket. Um, I think this is a good time to do the body talk words before I finish. Here on the right is the one of the best tools I use, the laser. You could see it's like the size of my forearm. You can't take a cryotherapy device with you when you travel, but you could take this everywhere you go. It fits in your purse. You can use it on the entire body, and it is red, infrared, and violet light. It heals the body instantly. I took it to baseball games and soccer games for kids. They fall, you laser it. There's no inflammation, there's no infection, there's no long-term problems. So my goal for my child was to make sure that he doesn't become 30 or 40 years old and have all the problems of today's people. And in fact, I didn't mention, but my son is almost 21. He's never been to a medical doctor. He's never had an illness. He's never missed a day of school for illness ever, and he's in college, never absent for illness. He's never broken a bone or had an actual injury that made him have to go to the doctor. He was raised exclusively on health and everything that I'm talking about here, including the EMF. He's been mudded. He's never had dental issues. It's kind of amazing when you operate on health instead of fear tactics. And here, the system in the States is like all these well visits to the doctors, and they're really just to stick needles in arms and then they send you home. And, it's pointless. So we didn't opt in for that. We just opted for health, and it's been great. I've also reversed my telomeres to a 12-year-old twice. So using all of these things that I am talking about here actually works, even if they sound really far-fetched and out of the box. Um, let's do the body talk words together, and then I'll take a few questions if anyone has any. Since you're alone, most of you maybe, you can close your eyes, feel your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and then I'll say the words slow enough so that you can repeat after me out loud if you'd like, because you're alone, or in your mind. Body, you are healthy and safe, loved and healed. You easily dissolve any burden, toxin, stress, or excess weight in your path. For this, I am truly grateful. Just take a few more deep breaths or exhales. Stay in silence for another 30 seconds and just observe. Hey, thank you so much for your attention. I am leaving a few QR codes on the screen. I have maybe a few more. I have mud therapy courses on my website. Um, the mud that we use is a specific product. It may be available elsewhere in the world, but if you live near a clean ocean, go grab the mud out of the ground and use it. There's the courses are all really inexpensive. I wanted to assure everyone had access to them. I have a do-it-yourself section on my website that can take people through 8 months. If you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get back a whole bunch of pictures and images that I took from somebody else's talk that were all about EMF. Um, and as I said, I have a mentorship program, and then I have a couple of choices of purchasing items that I'm talking about. All of the products that I use supplement wise, nutrients, they're beyond organic, they're raw food, they're live source, they are proven to be toxin free, head to head with any other product on the market here in the States. Nothing even comes as close. A lot of practitioners here at the States use a lot of well-known products that still have toxic tag-alongs in them. And I believe that part of my 99% success rate is because, in part, of using really clean products. Um, so thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions or pass the baton.